Well, good morning, everybody. We made it till the end of the week. Today is February 16th, 2024. Unless we re-upload this video, of course. Now, today, we're finally getting down to the bottom of the Rabies Super Bowl ritual matrix. And remember when I told you that the pandemic and Trump would be connected to this somehow, to this Rabies Super Bowl matrix? Well, I had an amazing discovery yesterday. Trump's Scottish roots and the etymology of his mother's maiden name literally means rabies. And now I'm 100% convinced that Trump, the father of the vaccine, will be connected to rabies in some way. Now let me explain this. I can't just say that without showing you some proof, right? So our discussion today will center around the etymology of a specific prefix. The prefix is called LUD, as you see it on your screen here. And as you also see on your screen, the Greeks used the word LUD, or the prefix LUD, to describe rabies. Now, what does LUD mean? Well, LUD means rage or violence. And this is why it was associated with rabies. Now, how does this connect to Trump? Well, Trump's mother was from the Isle of Lewis. And this is her here, Mary Ann McLeod Trump. She lived to be 88 years old. And she is from Scotland, the Isle of Lewis. But here's where things get weird. Because, in fact, the entire island of the Isle of Lewis is actually named after the McLeod family. You can see it here. LEODIS. LEODIS, which is Lewis. I'm going to play this.
Yoas. Yoas. Yoas.
So, LEOD or Lewis is how they say it, is the Isle of Lewis, the same maiden name of Trump's mother. The entire island named after the family clan. Now, so what does that have to do with LUD, L-U-D? Well, here's the connection right here. LEOD, here's the name from which the Isle of Lewis came, actually translates in its base etymology to the very same word, LUD. Now, I wish I was making all this up, but I'm not. Because you see it with your own eyes. LEOD, Lewis, and LUD are all the same word, which mean rage, violence, and rabies. Now, what else is going on? What other proof do we have? Well, Trump's mother came over on the ship called the Transylvania. And I'm not going to read too much more into that other than to tell you that that's the case. Now, one of you sent me that information. I wasn't digging around trying to find anything evil associated, but we all know what Transylvania is known for. But here's another proof that I found in my research yesterday. Apparently, Scotland has a long history of world-leading research on rabies out of Scotland, out of Glasgow. And there's something weird about this because they were doing a lot of research in the Serengeti in Africa relating to rabies and dogs and trying to fight the disease. Now, obviously this is a good thing, right? But what are the odds that the world leaders in rabies research come out of Scotland? Here's some more information on that. Scientists at Glasgow have been conducting research in Tanzania for almost 20 years to answer fundamental questions such as, what is the scale of the rabies problem? So there's something going on here, isn't there? Can't quite put our finger on it, but there is definitely something going on with Scotland and rabies, and the whole name of LEOD meaning rage and rabies. Now, many of you noticed the thumbnail. Now we're going to get into Justin Bieber. Now, this is a parody video that released, gosh, when did this release? 13 years ago. And the man that you're looking at on the screen here is Round Saturn's Eye. Now, this was before he woke up, before he started his truth channel, which many of you know as RSE. And he had publicly repented of these kinds of videos that he did from the past, but they were left up for the reason that he says is his testimony, to show what his past was. But this was after no one had known about this until some people in the truth community had discovered and noticed that he was the same person in these videos, but he was on a completely different part of YouTube with his truth channel. So the two ran simultaneously is the point I'm trying to make here. Now let me be clear. This isn't us guessing that this is him. He admits that this is him. But he left the videos up as part of his testimony. You can read into that what you want, but this is what we went through in the truth community when this was discovered. Because on his Round Saturn's Eye channel in the beginning, he remained kind of anonymous. So you couldn't really tell and make the connection until later. Anyway, I bring this up because he was obviously on to something with this parody. Justin Bieber. The parody is Justin Bieber, Rabies. And of course, this is Round Saturn's Eye, dressed in a furry's costume with kind of these eyes in here. Again, this was when he was asleep, before he claims to have, repented and become a Christian. But he's basically showing Justin Bieber with rabies. Now, I bring all this up to tell you that this actually really happened to Justin Bieber years after this parody published. Now, I dug into this deeper because it wasn't just Round Saturn's Eye doing this parody. Because with the quick search of the internet, you could see that other people were doing this Justin Bieber rabies parody. Many other people. Let's see. This is the one with Round Saturn's Eye dressed as a beaver. Then there were some others. Here, as you can see, parodies on Justin Bieber having rabies. Or here's Alvin and the Chipmunks from 12 years ago. Justin Bieber rabies parody. So this was kind of a thing 13 years ago, wasn't it? And here's the part of the show where I tell you that you may need to sit down for this. Because Justin Bieber did get a neurological viral infection similar to rabies. What's it called? Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. This is it right here. Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, which causes palsies of the face. It gets into the nervous system, and it can lay dormant for years. The varicella zoster virus infects people and results in a distributed vascular rash with fever, known as chickenpox. Respiratory droplets are the main method of virus transmission during the acute stage of the infection. After it subsides, it stays dormant in nerve cells in the body, and it may reactivate under conditions of psychological stress or if the immune system is suppressed in any way. For example, during an illness or undergoing chemotherapy, resulting in herpes zoster, also known as shingles, or Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, when facial paralysis is involved. Then it says if the nerve cells affected lie within the facial nerves, it causes symptoms described above. So this is what he was diagnosed with, following the neural pathways and laying dormant in the same way that rabies does. Now, I dug in this a little bit further. Here's one study that actually shows rabies viral encephalitis with a 25-year incubation period. 25 years in this particular case, where this guy was bitten by a dog. 25 years later, he comes down with it. Now, here's what's weird. Ramsay-Hunt syndrome is estimated to account for 12% of all facial nerve paralysis. It occurs in both immunocompetent and immunocompromised individuals, with immunocompromised patients often having more severe disease presentation. It also may occur in any age group, with cases reported in patients from 3 to 82 years old. And guess what? Ramsay-Hunt can cause memory loss, amnesia. Now, something weird is going on. Remember when Trump shaved the head of Vince McMahon? And the commentator that was present was this guy, Jim Ross. Well, Jim Ross had Bell's palsy. And in fact, it's mentioned several times in his Wikipedia article. He was actually fired for an incident of Bell's palsy. Let's read through this. Ross was fired on February 11th, 2 weeks after suffering his first attack of Bell's palsy on January 30th, 1994. Now, this guy is a WWE commentator. 923. Ross took a break from Raw is War due to another attack of Bell's palsy he suffered while broadcasting a PPV in London, pay-per-view in London. He mentioned the Bell's palsy also again during Trump shaving the head of Vince McMahon, giving him alopecia. It says here, Ross's Bell's palsy proved fodder for ridicule by WWF's competitor, World Championship Wrestling, in late 1999. Ed Ferrara parodied Ross, including doing a full impression, including mockery of his modified voice due to his medical condition. Then, on October 20th, he suffered his third Bell's palsy episode on his way to a SmackDown taping in South Carolina. So, this is a thing, isn't it? Now, interestingly, this is the same guy, this same commentator, Jim Ross, with Bell's palsy. When Trump came out, he called him a prophet, spelled with an F. Now, let's break this down a little bit further. Let's go back to this image that we were looking at from yesterday. Where'd it go? This image of the lineup of all the different rappers that were in the Super Bowl. This image here. Let me check in with you guys and we'll get into this lineup here from the halftime show. Because as I begin to break this whole thing down, all the people in a line here, every person in this lineup either has rabies clues attached to them or Donald Trump. And we're going to break that down next after I check in with you guys and see what's going on. Good morning, everybody. Now, this is crazy. We had Ludacris, Usher, and what was supposed to be Justin Bieber, who didn't show up, and Lil Jon. Now, there's other characters mixed in amongst there, like Will.i.am and H.E.R. But we're going to cover these four or five people, because they all relate back to either Rabies or Trump. Let's start from left to right. Ludicrous. Remember, LUD means rage or rabies. He was born 9/11/1977, 46 years old. 77 and 46 are Trump numbers. Then we have Usher, who was also a Scottish ophthalmologist who discovered Usher syndrome, which is a gene mutation that affects the neural pathways, causes children to go deaf and blind. And again, Scotland was the center for rabies research in the world. And we could probably put Justin Bieber right here next to Usher, even though he didn't show up. Bieber was in the crowd and was invited and declined. And, of course, Justin Bieber had the rabies-like virus that hides in the neural pathways, as we explained earlier. Then we have Lil Jon right here. And he has an interesting Trump connection as well. He actually appeared on The Apprentice twice. Except Trump denies knowing him. This almost sounds biblical. Like, wait, who was it that denied Christ? Was that Judas? But here, Trump denies knowing Lil Jon, who was on The Apprentice twice. He was in the 11th and 13th seasons. And there was a little bit of beef between the two because Trump was calling Lil Jon an Uncle Tom, and Lil Jon called him out. So creepy. Now, what else is going on in this weird matrix? Well, if we continue on down the line here, we also have Jermaine Dupri. And many of you know where I'm going with this. Jermaine Dupri over here, let's zoom him in so you could see him. Get over to this other side here. This is Jermaine Dupri. He was born on 9/23. Here he is right here, his Wikipedia page. He was born on 9/23. And he's a DJ. Some could argue the first two initials of Trump's name. But there's more to this, because I believe what this is pointing at is Saint Germain. Now, at least a few occult sources, and again, take this with a grain of salt, but at least a few occult sources say that Saint Germain is living in Baron Trump. This source says it, and I found another source claiming that Trump is Saint Germain. So take that with a grain of salt, but that could be why Jermaine Dupri is in the lineup. Now, then we come to Will I Am. Now, of course, Will I Am, this is a blasphemous statement, right? I am. But there's more to this. And let me zoom in on Will I Am in the lineup here. He's off to the far right. This is him wearing this funny looking head thing with the glasses on. So what's up with Will I Am? Well, Will I Am had a birthday 33 days after he performed in this performance. He will turn 49, which is 7 times 7, 33 days after his halftime performance. I typed in the numbers here. He was born on 3/15, and the halftime performance was on 2/11. Welcome to the Matrix. Now, Sunday, I screened this film called The Age of Adeline. And we're essentially going to break down another character lineup. So we did this character lineup from the halftime show, but there was also another character lineup, wasn't there? There was the Taylor Swift entourage character lineup. We already decoded Ice Spice. We already decoded Taylor Swift's Erase Your Brain tour. Well, now we're going to decode the last person in her entourage, Blake Lively. Now, why are we going to cover Blake Lively? Well, Ice Spice was the eclipse, the fire and ice eclipse, wasn't she? And Taylor Swift, again, was the forgetting, the amnesia, the Erase Your Brain tour, in which the fans forgot what happened. Well, Blake Lively appears at her left hand in the lineup, the left hand of Taylor Swift, and she was in this movie 10 years ago called The Age of Adeline. And in the movie, on a driver's license, you see the year 2024 on the driver's license. What's the movie about? You guessed it. Fire and ice. A comet, a literal comet, is named after Blake Lively in the movie that seems to cause her to become immortal. She stops aging after she falls in the ice and then is lit up with fire. I'm not making any of this up. This is a love story, but there's so much more to it. So now we have confirmed that every character in both of these lineups, the halftime show lineup and the Taylor Swift lineup up in the stands, above and below, relate to eclipses, rabies, Trump. All it takes is digging a few levels deep to see the whole thing. Fire and ice. And there it all is. Now I'll put links to all this stuff so you can research it a little bit further if you're interested. There may be other clues. That was just the Cliff Notes. Many of you sent me information going even far deeper, but if we dug too deep, we would go insane, right? So that's the Cliff Notes version. There are more exact castings of this that confirm it even deeper. Let's go into the chat for a bit. They put it on live chat. All right, there you go. Zoom in here. Is this nuts or what? So they've cast all this for a ritual, haven't they? That's the bottom line. People are asking, okay, what's the summary here, Casey? Everything is cast specifically for what's happening. And apparently this fire and ice eclipse coming up is a big deal. Now, the Age of Adeline movie is definitely one I would recommend. Okay, it's actually a well-written movie. And it's kind of sad. It's all about love. But there's something deeper to it that was pointing forward to this very year, 2024, which appears on her driver's license. Now, if you don't believe me, go to the thumbnail for Sunday's show and download it, and you'll see 2024 on the driver's license. A movie from 10 years ago. So they're obviously pointing forward to this eclipse, weren't they? The comet. They talk about, I'll give you a little sneak peek into it. The movie actually shows there's a 49er aspect to it as well, like the Super Bowl. Like literally, they talk about the gold rush in San Francisco. And then they show it's snowing in Sonoma County, which happened again last year. Snow in Sonoma County, which is basically it's the comet. The comet is why it snows in Sonoma County. Once you watch the whole movie through, you realize that that's what it's about. It's the comet that makes her immortal. So what are these people up to? Well, we're getting close to figuring this whole thing out, aren't we? It's unbelievable. All right, I'm back in the chat here. Yeah, I would recommend, like, if you don't have anything else to do, I would watch that movie. It's called The Age of Adeline. and then you'll be prepared for the show on Sunday. Now, Blake Lively plays a really good role. Let's look at the picture of her at the Super Bowl so you get a visual on this. Super Bowl, Blake Lively. Now, weirdly, so remember, let's just do a summary right here. This is crazy. Okay, so here's a good picture here. Now, I don't know who this woman is over here, but this is Ice Spice, which is fire and ice. We determined her face was essentially an eclipse. Her real name's Isis, which means moon, so that's her face. Her hair is the fire, that's the sun. The moon covers the sun, that's an eclipse. Went to her website, there was adrenochrome pink all over it. She's wearing the inverted cross, so she's pointing forward to the eclipse with the comet coming up. Number 2, Taylor Swift, Erase Your Brain Tour. And then the football player who won the Super Bowl forgot. He blacked out, didn't know what he was doing. And then, of course, they think she's going to endorse Biden, who has also had his brain wiped. What kind of sorcery is this? And then finally, we have Blake Lively, who is wearing all red. This is the more fire aspects, right? And she's in this movie, Age of Adeline, about a comet and electricity lighting her up and waking her back up after she froze, which is the fire. Look at this. It even says fire back here on this Gucci shirt behind them. Fire, I don't know what that means. Fire something. Fire whatever. But it says right there. So, this whole cast is ritual. Unbelievable. Someone's telling these people what to wear, who to cast in these roles. So, we're going to get into that on Sunday. Now, Blake Lively is married to, what's that guy's name? He plays a superhero. He plays, and there was actually a Super Bowl ad with the guy who plays the superhero. Somebody help me on this, please. I don't know all this stuff. There was an ad, and I did not cover that Super Bowl ad for the upcoming movie with her husband in it. He wears a mask, and he has an X sword. Ryan Reynolds. Oh boy. They actually show him shaping the swords in an X. Let's look that up. Gotta make this a complete show. Ryan Reynolds. Superhero. Let's take a look. He plays Deadpool. There's a new Deadpool coming up. Deadpool. Super Bowl ad. Let's see if they show him holding the swords in an X. Here it is right here. On his back. It's all about the X eclipses, you guys. What the heck is going on here? And now you see who really rules this world, which the Bible tells us who rules this current reality until Jesus comes back. But there you go. The Deadpool, the dark waters, the dead water. I wonder if it's going to be melted comet dust that they'll say is causing all this. And this is really what the dark waters are all about. The dead pool. Whoa. So, there you go. In a nutshell. Spiritual aspects of this reality. Okay, I'm back into the chat here. Thanks for that, you guys. That Gucci shirt is the Vesica Pisces. Yes, Belzy. Deadpool is about genetic mutations. Exactly. And Age of Adeline is also about genetic mutations. They actually say it in the movie that her genes were altered. Her telomeres were altered when she was hit by fire and ice. I can't wait to do that decode on Sunday. All right. Movie Dark Waters. Yeah, we decoded Dark Waters. It's here on the channel. Might want to check that out. You should see the Ryan Reynolds movie R.I.P.D. loaded with 66s. Wow, thanks, Appalachian. Yep, they're going to say it's comet dust. or melted out of the permafrost. That's going to be the new mystery pathogen. That's going to be disease X. And they're going to say it's causing people to get rabies, rage virus. But really, it's something they're going to grow in a lab. But they'll blame it on alien dust, alien melted comet water, or something. All right, what else is going on, you guys? Okay. Yo, what about Taylor Swift being pictured with Shaq at the Super Bowl? Shaq was the spokesman for Icy Hot. Oh boy. Wow. Icy Hot. More fire and ice. Wow. Good one. Deadpool had cancer in the first movie. Dead water versus the Most High's living water. Absolutely, Michael. Your eyes are open. For everything that God does, it is good. The enemy has an evil, dark counterpart. Because he tries to copy God, but flip the script, right? This is why it's important to look at this stuff. Because sometimes you won't believe things like, the waters until you see the dark side version of it. Then it becomes very real, doesn't it? Poison water versus living waters. So, there's a perfume called Fire and Ice 2. Wow. Yes, we are perfectly prepared for heaven, aren't we? We have our eyes fixed on heaven. We're not thinking about this broken reality. This kingdom is crumbling. It's built on sinking sand. Yes, Shaq is a Freemason. Comet vomit. Yeah, you really can't make this stuff up, can you, Mimi? I agree 100%. Crystal just Googled the spiritual meaning of fire versus ice. Okay. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, I'm gonna pop off of here, and I'll see you guys on Sunday with the Age of Adeline. Much love, everybody. Take care.